What's up, ADHD crew, and welcome to the first episode of ADHD Struggles, where I talk about all things ADHD that I'm sure we can all relate with. Now, what I want to talk about today is something I think is very important and it's not really talked enough about. So today's topic is going to be all about how one goes about undoing the damage that comes from a lifetime of problems caused by ADHD. And I just want to talk about what I am doing to correct the errors of my younger days and all the impulsive, emotional decisions that I made. And hopefully I can share some insight to help you with your own endeavours in your own personal life. The reality is that so many ADHDers are doing this. They're messing up early in life, and this is why they're often termed late bloomers. And it's a noticeable pattern in my family, which is why there's certain people in my family I suspect have it as well, because they've actually now turned out to be rather successful, but they didn't get there till they were about in their 40s and 50s. This is very important to note that when you have undiagnosed ADHD, this is the difference between a good life and a really terrible life. Not being diagnosed from a young age can cause havoc, and it can make you not understand why you do what you do. Because when you know why you do what you do, it makes all the difference, and you can start to research ways to overcome those habits because you actually have something that explains why you do those things. So one of the problems I think comes about from ADHD is wasting time. If you're trying to get your shit together, time blindness can really kick you in the butt, and I think that it bothers a lot of people with inattentive ADHD in particular. But just being deceived by your own lack of a sense of urgency can really come back to haunt you. And I think the amount of times that I've sort of wasted days and days in my house just like lying around, playing video games, watching movies, not doing anything, just existing, I think is a massive downfall of ADHD. And of course this inattention, this lack of attention to detail transfers into all other areas of your life. So that inattention led to nothing but misguided decisions and careless decisions at that as well. Mainly bad decisions, usually based on emotions and instant gratification. So this results in living in the moment, day to day, never really having a concern for the long-term implications that your actions or lack of actions are having on your future. So when you have no kind of guidance and you've got nobody pointing out that you need help for your ADHD, the consequence of this is that life passes you by and you waste much of your youth. You might end up doing what I did and spending 5 years in a completely dead-end job, being miserable and not actually taking any action to get out of it. And then one day you wake up, you're 30, you're 40, you're 50, and you've wasted time. I feel like I've had to learn everything the hard way, in terms of finances, in terms of relationships, in terms of being left behind in life in general. Because I'm finding all my peers have established themselves and I'm behind. So I've spent practically the last 4 years of my life back in education to try and build myself up from scratch. And I also find that I haven't got a penny to my name, which really sucks. Throughout my 20s, especially my early 20s, I basically had no clue of the staggering importance of understanding money. And of course, I've allowed myself to get into debt because of this. I've made impulse purchases, I've taken out personal loans that my parents are actually helping me pay off to this day. It's kind of funny because the way I viewed money was like candy to a 6-year-old. That's how I saw money. And quite frankly, I do think I had a bit of a spending addiction because I was thriving on that instant gratification. I felt unhappy in my life because I didn't know who I was. And I felt like I had no control over myself, so I'd spend even more to feel like it's giving me some kind of purpose, like it's giving me, something to look forward to. Because when I didn't have anything to look forward to, I'd feel stagnant. And this is why I'm saying it's so important to find your purpose in life, even if it takes you till you're 75 years old. Keep looking. I think this is one of the good things about ADHD is that we can do so many things at once to a fault, and I think that can be utilized to an advantage, So if you're going to multitask it, say you want to try everything. Life is all about perseverance and growth. It's all about self-development, self-improvement and purpose. Keep going and always try to improve. no matter how many times you fail. This impulse spending is a massive, massive problem, and it can really hurt you big time for several years down the road. And I think this is where recognizing and catching your impulses is key. And this is where a diagnosis also comes in handy, because you know now that you have ADHD. So therefore, you can look out for your impulses, right? Because you know what to expect with ADHD when you learn about it. And so you research strategies and tips, you look online, and eventually you get to the point where I'm at now, a few years in post-diagnosis, and I'm starting to develop strategies and techniques to basically overriding the way I operate. Now I understand how I operate, so I can foresee consequences and predict what's going to happen. So what I do with spending now is I only purchase things, well, not 100% of the time, mind, but I only purchase things that I can see is going to genuinely improve my life, and it's a long-term investment with good return on interest. And also, smartphones nowadays are fantastic, and I use a couple of money tracking apps. And obviously I log everything onto my to-do list. I have visual reminders, because visual reminders are the only thing that actually works in terms of giving me a sense of future consequences, developing that sense of urgency, which is what we need. We don't have that mental map and visualization internally of events mapping out over time. When I was in my early 20s, I didn't give a damn about money. I didn't give a damn about mortgages, savings, investing, buying property, none of that. All I cared about was just going to work, spending my money, and having a party, just enjoying life, which I suppose is very common, but I think with ADHD, it perpetuates for much longer than necessary, and I think I didn't take life seriously enough until, well, later than I should have. But I think also having support and having that inspiration to look after your finances is important as well, because if you combine ADHD with a lack of other people being aware that you have it, and a lack of older people guiding you how to look after yourself and, just take care of adult things, right? I think it's disastrous if you don't have those things and you have ADHD. And this is my gripe with the education system as well. This is my gripe with schools. They're teaching our children things that aren't really that useful. And if you're in the UK, I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about. They don't teach these kids life skills. These life skills can be life-saving. They don't teach them about financial management, home economics, raising a family, relationship skills, social skills. They don't teach them any of that. And this is what's so worrying. And this is why, if you're anything like me, you've had to learn everything the hard way. And it's not until you become a fully grown adult and you're well into adult life that things finally start clicking and making sense, because you've had to go through hell and back just to attain the necessary knowledge to survive. So the number one rule I'd give for an ADHDer to get their shit together is basically you've got to treat this as a job, a part-time job. Whatever your lifestyle is at the moment, that's cool. Keep at it to help you stay afloat. But in the meanwhile, schedule time to improve and learn. Learn a skill, look into ways that you can improve your current situation, look into ways that you can improve your finances, look into ways you can save money, etc. Just assign a time slot every day with your core tools, your mobile, your calendar. A little bit every day, just like an hour is all you need. Even though right now I have just finished my master's and I'm not working, I do technically work. I'm just not being paid. I'm keeping myself busy and I'm constantly improving. I'm listening to audiobooks every day in the gym, keeping myself healthy. I am educating myself through courses online. I use things like Skillshare. That's a great website if you want to ever visit that. Right now, I don't know what my grade is going to be for my master's, but the only thing I really care about is the fact that I finished something. Even if I fail, I'm not getting my hopes up, but even if I have failed, I'm just proud of myself for finishing it. Regardless of the outcome, it was absolute hell, and it was very difficult for me to do. So that's what I'm celebrating. So I think that if you're in a sticky situation right now and your life has been a total mess because of ADHD, there's always a way out. If you start today, take baby steps, educate yourself, allot the time to educate yourself. Eventually, you're going to start seeing tangible results. And the great thing about getting better is, in this day and age, you can do it online and you can do it at your own pace. So if you do want to get a higher qualification, you don't have to have the pressure of dropping out of a job and going into full-time education. You can do things part-time in your own time. You can do qualifications that aren't as intense, like a bachelor's degree. Maybe you want to dip your toe in the pond first and do a certificate, you know? Set the bar low, which is what Jordan Peterson says. Set the bar low. Make your bed. Attain something achievable that's not too difficult first. Then consider raising the bar. You know, this is where taking notes is handy. You know, every time I get an idea for a video, I'll get up out of bed and write it on my whiteboard. Same goes for everything else in my life. I'll take notes. You know, I often look back at my younger self and I cringe. I just want to give myself a slap across the face because I just think, why didn't I care at a younger age? You know, I could just throttle myself for being so silly, for being so careless. But, you know, it's just one of those things you have to go through. So don't beat yourself up. It's a waste of energy. Just focus on what you can do today and focus on your vision. So that's all for today, guys. I really hope this helped, and just bear in mind that it's never too late to turn the direction of your life to somewhere more positive. If you enjoyed this content, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, because this channel is all about ADHD and I want to help you guys to improve your lives. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.